Even beat up as they are, I am still going Giants 30-21.
Way has it blocked by Jennings this time. And the ball goes bouncing into the end zone for a safety. Manning back to throw. Steps up. Deep ball. Odell Beckham Jr. on the post. Jumps up. Makes the catch. Touchdown Giants.
Finally got single coverage on him.
Manning takes the snap. He's back to throw. Heaves it down the right-hand side for Randall, who makes the catch off the bobble and walks into the end zone for a touchdown.
Happy Friday, everybody. This is First Take. Thanks so much for being with us. Skip Bayless and Molly Karam here in good old Bristol, Connecticut. Stephen A. joining us from New York. Good morning, gentlemen.
What's going on, y'all? How you doing?
Good.
You know what? I just figured out why you just had to be in New York City today. Because clearly, the Pope and Obama were attracting way too much of your spotlight in New York, so you had to make your presence felt, just to remind everybody who owns that town, right?
I will admit this much, Skip Bayless. I would feel that way about myself, as cocky as it may be, but here's where you are absolutely positively humbled. They don't get stuck in traffic jams. I do.
That's correct.
So clearly their clout is more significant than mine.
Okay.
Well said.
Give Pope Francis and Barack my respects, please. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Coming up, who is the most entertaining player in the NFL? And we'll pick all the big Week 3 matchups. 9 NFL teams trying to avoid going 0-3. The last team to drop 3 and make it to the playoffs, get ready for this, Doug Flutie, a team led by him. So we know history is not on your side. But first, we get into a team that did just that and is now 1-2. The Giants held on in the fourth quarter for the first time this season, defeating Washington 32-21 at MetLife. Eli was efficient and hasn't thrown a pick yet this season. Odell Beckham and Reuben Randall had 7 catches apiece. Now, Kirk Cousins, on the other hand, didn't have his best outing, throwing 2 interceptions with a QBR of 40. Here's his coach.
When you go on the road and you play a big division game, a rivalry game like this, turn the ball over 3 times and have a punt blocked, I would say it's going to be very tough to overcome. Kirk was fine. We, like I said, we got to play better around him, and there's no quarterback controversy whatsoever. We got to do some things around him. We can't make this all about the quarterback. We got to create some turnovers on defense. We got to continue to run the ball, and receivers got to make some plays. And Kirk's got to do better. We all got to do better.
Stephen A., we need your thoughts on the Redskins. Is Kirk Cousins the answer?
Well, he's not the answer. I mean, that doesn't mean that they can't win football games, but I have very little faith in Kirk Cousins for the biggest reason of all. When the lights shine brightest, he wilts beneath it. He shrinks beneath the pressure. And I thought last night was indicative of that. Obviously, getting the punt blocked and ultimately getting a safety based off of that for the Giants definitely helped them. A couple of interceptions by Amukamara, by Unger, certainly didn't help Kirk Cousins at all. The line of scrimmage, Schlereth pointed out yesterday how the Redskins should expect to win at the line of scrimmage, both offensively and defensively, and certainly that did not happen last night. Skip called it. Let's call it what it is. The Giants showed up last night, played above themselves when you consider the myriad of injuries that they were suffering from. The fact that they still showed up and handled their business, they deserve a lot of credit for it. But I was incredibly disgusted with the performance that I saw from the Washington Redskins. If you were going to lose the game, at least be a bit more competitive than you were. They didn't win at the line of scrimmage on offense or defense. They had no running game to speak of. Alfred Morris had 19 yards rushing, for crying out loud, on 6 carries. And we obviously know what Matt Jones was able to do, because as a running back, what did he do? He had 11 carries for 38 yards. Nothing impressive in their running game whatsoever. So if you can't run the football, you can't win at the line of scrimmage to protect the quarterback, and the quarterback himself shrinks beneath the spotlight, I'd expected 2 of the 3 to work in the Redskins' favor. Obviously, that didn't happen last night, and that has a lot to do with why the Giants won. But give the Giants credit, because what transpired really wasn't a surprise. The fact that Eli stepped up, the fact that Beckham looks like an absolute stud, they made Reuben Randall look like the second coming. He had 106 16 yards receiving. All of those things considered, plus them winning at the line of scrimmage, being at MetLife Stadium, their home turf, understanding going 0-3 on the season could have essentially ruined everything. They rose to the challenge like we've seen the Giants do on many occasions in the past. So my hat's off to them. But I was incredibly disappointed with Kirk Cousins. I believe that the Washington Redskins can still win their share of games, but I find it to be something that will occur in spite of Kirk Cousins, not because of him.
You know, I got to tell you, you really surprised me yesterday when you picked against the team that you allegedly root for, your hometown New York Football Giants. And I'm just wondering, do you even feel an ounce of shame today that you didn't pick the team that was playing at home?
Oh, no.
In front of the president.
It's not an ounce.
In front of the
It's not an ounce. I feel significantly ashamed of that, but it's not because I'm from New York and I wasn't a homer. I don't expect the Giants to go 16-0 any season. Every single season, I picked them and the Jets to lose a couple of games. You know, I picked my Steelers to lose a few games as well. Just because I love them don't mean I think they're going to win all the time. But the manner in which they played last night, meaning the Redskins, was incredibly disappointing. I knew that the Giants had injuries. I knew that Victor Cruz wasn't going to be there. I don't believe in the Giants running game, nor do I believe in their offensive line. So the combination of all those things, I was simply expecting, Skip, the Redskins to run the ball about 40 times and run it down the Giants' throat and find a way to win that way with Kirk Cousins being a game manager. I didn't expect no one to show up. But that's what happened with the Redskins last night.
Yeah. I'm going to have to reiterate my stance that I dug in with yesterday versus you and Mark Schlereth, as you guys went back and forth on me.
Sure.
And I'm not saying you were driving the Redskins bandwagon. Maybe Mark was more than you were. But I continued to say you're overrating this Redskins team off its first two games. It did play the Dolphins close. The Dolphins are way overrated to me. Some people even picking them before the year started to win the AFC East. That is mind-blowing to me. And then the next win was overrated by the Redskins at home against the St. Louis Rams, who did not take them seriously enough coming off their huge opening day emotional win at home over their arch rival, the Seattle Seahawks in St. Louis. So they didn't show up in the first half. They fell behind 17-0. They couldn't quite dig out of the hole because they weren't ready for Matt Jones. The Giants were ready for Matt Jones last night. And as you point out, when Matt Jones and Alfred Morris combine for 57 total yards rushing on 17 tries, a little over 3 yards a carry, Kirk Cousins is in big trouble. And when those two combine between the tackles to go 29 yards on 9 tries, Kirk Cousins is even in bigger trouble. And I'm going to say what I said from the start. And again, if you want to disqualify me because I'm obviously a big RG3 fan and remain so to this moment, Kirk Cousins is not the answer because I said he wasn't from the start. And you're right. And I'm very impressed that you made that point. The bigger the stage, especially if it's a national TV stage, the more likely Kirk Cousins is to throw it to the wrong team. And the more likely Kirk Cousins is to miss that one open receiver on that one play that could have completely changed the momentum in the game. That's what he's been all the way through with this Redskins team. Again, I'm not trying to overly defend Robert, who's been an unmitigated disaster the last 2 years coming off his injury. But Robert Griffin III has shown you as an NFL player his rookie year, he's a big-time performer. The bigger the moment, the brighter the lights, Robert will make those throws. So let's just keep that in some perspective. I don't have anything against Kirk Cousins. I know Mike Shanahan continues publicly to support him and even compare him to a very young John Elway and a very young Steve Young. And I get that because you know and I know, I think we got it from the same source. Mike Shanahan preferred Kirk Cousins over Robert Griffin III, especially when it was going to require the sun and the moon to trade up to get RG3 with the second pick in that draft. Okay, I get that. And I love Mike Shanahan. I respect him. I also think his pride continues to talk for him a little bit when he says that Kirk Cousins is a franchise quarterback. I don't see that. And the other problem I have is with his makeup. He seems like a good young man. I don't know him, but listen, he takes his mistakes so hard. It just crushes him, and he goes and sits and he sulks and he's beating his helmet, and I appreciate that. I get that way about this show. I never like a show that we do. You know that. I'm always upset after the show, but
you complain every day.
I do, but
yes,
the show must go on. And if I mess up that topic, I'm going to get you in the next topic. And Kirk seems to not be able to leave his frustration on the bench. He goes out to the next huddle for the next series, and he's trying a little bit too hard, and he's pressing, and then, no, not again. You know, like Schlereth was saying yesterday, dude, what was that? Well, I was saying it again last night. Dude, what was that? Dude, what was that? And dude, what was that? Because they had chances to get back in the game, if not win the game. He's just not good enough under that kind of pressure when he doesn't have the run game to support him. So, again, I don't know what Robert's future is in Washington. I hope it's somewhere else. I don't know what's going to happen there. Probably the bridge is burned. I certainly don't blame Jay Gruden for supporting Kirk, because I think he wants Kirk badly to succeed. But, if you're going to go with one or the other, I'd go with Colt McCoy. I still respect Colt McCoy's ability to, if you will, game manage under the brightest lights. He won't disappoint you when the stage is the biggest. You remember him playing at Dallas last year.
Well, I will say this to you. It does explain why RG3 was kept around. I can tell you that much. Because you certainly can't definitively rely upon Kirk Cousins. Let's just call it what it is. He had 30 attempts. 30 of his pass attempts were in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. He threw like 5 for 15 for 53 yards under duress. So that's just 33% completion percentage. So every time you look at him and you need him to step up,
yeah,
he's somebody that just appears incapable of stopping the bleeding. He doesn't seem to be that kind of guy. And I think that that's a huge problem in all of this, and that's something that everybody has to monitor moving forward. But I still blame the Redskins from this perspective. They did get beat at both lines of scrimmage. I didn't expect that to happen.
Yep.
They should have played better. Their run game should have been more effective. And it just seemed from the time that they gave up that safety off the block punt that they were demoralized from that point forward, and they never recovered. And considering the fact that this is an NFC East rivalry, and by the way, Skip, allow me to take a moment to give another network some credit. That whoever that producer was that produced that piece leading into the game last night with Lawrence Taylor and John Riggins,
yeah,
that was some sensational stuff. That was incredibly touching.
Yep.
It really was. I loved it, and it made you look that much more forward, yep, to the game.
It really
and
set
then the Redskins,
stage. I agree.
It set the stage, yep, perfectly. And then the Redskins didn't show up. They didn't show up last night. It's just that simple.